If you're a regular viewer of these, you should know by now that I never just get right to it. I've always got to start with some crap first. So what I'm going to start with before I start to talk about the Skid Row album, and I'll show that first. There it is right there. So hold on to your horses and I will get to that. Anybody who watched or who came and participated in the live stream that I did a couple of weeks ago, thank you again. I mentioned that I would be going to El Chopo this past weekend on Saturday, and I was going to go to El Chopo on Saturday because I was going to go see Pretty Boy Floyd in Mexico City on Friday, the day before, because Friday does come before Saturday, even in Mexico. And I learned about that Pretty Boy Floyd concert from a faithful viewer called Jose, and he mentioned it in a previous live stream, like in January. And I said, I'm going to go see Pretty Boy Floyd in Mexico City on Friday, March 17th. And I'll stay there the night and go to El Chopo the next day. Well, that concert was canceled. And so because the concert was canceled, I just didn't end up going even to Mexico City or to El Chopo, which also canceled my plans for that weekend, for Friday and Saturday. I was going to go meet up with my friend Jorge in Mexico, who plays in a great band called the Bunions, who have a new album coming out. I think it comes out this Friday, and they're playing a concert on Saturday in Mexico City to celebrate the release of their new album called Beefcake. I was going to say you should listen to the Bunions, but if you're watching this because you like Skid Row, I'm not sure if you'd like the Bunions, but I like the Bunions. I love the Bunions. So it canceled my plans with Jorge to go to El Chopo, and it canceled, Pretty Boy Floyd was canceled. Which brings me to a rash of concert cancellations I've had. Like in the last week, Pretty Boy Floyd canceled because of not just low ticket sales, very low ticket sales. And I had to investigate that it was canceled. There was no announcement either by the band, the promoter, or the venue. I just realized that I hadn't seen anything about that concert. I started to wonder about it and did some digging. It took about 15 minutes to find out that the concert was canceled. And I emailed the venue and they said very low ticket sales. It was canceled. Also, I mentioned previously, I think that I was going to see, or was thinking about going to see Saxon in about a month. That's also canceled, although for different reasons, because Paul Quinn, their guitarist, he didn't quit. I guess he retired from the music business or retired from touring, which I think is a really shitty thing to do. Now maybe he's got health problems and he physically can't tour, in which case that's understandable. But if it was just like, I don't really feel like touring anymore, so I'm going to retire, when they had already had a tour booked, then that's pretty shitty. I don't know what happened, but so Saxon was canceled also. Paul Di'Anno in Cuernavaca was also canceled. And what was the other one? Related to Paul Di'Anno, The Obsessed was supposed to play in Mexico City this coming Saturday, the 25th. And this was the stupidest cancellation or postponement. We'll see. This is the second time. Postponed or canceled because it was double booked for the same venue as Paul Di'Anno's playing on the same day. I don't know how that's possible. How whether it's the venue's fault or I guess it's two different promoters who were bringing The Obsessed and who were bringing Paul Di'Anno, but for some reason they both booked the same venue on the same date, and it took a long time to realize, and so The Obsessed was canceled, supposedly postponed for later. We'll see. So that's 4 that I learned about just last week. And then also Rod Stewart. I'm going to see Rod Stewart in, I think that's on April 28th, about a month from now, a little bit over a month. Kirk, I hope you go. Kirk will be in Mexico City from San Diego to go see the Padres. They're playing in Mexico City, which I'd love to go to too, but I don't want to pay major league prices to go to what is essentially a minor league game instead of minor league stadium. I hope Kirk comes to Rod Stewart. And I saw the other day, you're scrolling through social media, and I saw this black image with a heart on it and a bunch of words, like a formal statement from on Rod Stewart's social media. And he also canceled, I don't know where it was, maybe somewhere in Europe or England, because I don't know if it was he had COVID or he was sick or somebody in his band. I think it was him was sick, had to cancel some shows. Hopefully that won't affect me. But cancellations are rampant these days for various reasons. And who else? Someone else, not affected me, but somebody else canceled recently still because of COVID. Terrible. So I will get now again to Skid Row. But before I get to the actual album, I always talk about my history. My history with Skid Row. My live history, I saw them 3 times. They're also one of my biggest concert, maybe not quite a regret, but anyway, so I saw them live 3 times, and I was an opener. I saw them opening for Bon Jovi on the New Jersey tour in the summer of '89. I saw them open for Aerosmith. I think that was in January 1990. I mentioned that when I talked about Aerosmith last week or whenever it was. And then I saw them open for Guns N' Roses. Was that in the summer of 90 or 91? I can't remember. Whenever they did that tour with Guns N' Roses. So I saw them 3 times, all big shows, opening for big bands. Now my regret, it's not a regret to me. A regret is something that you wish you had a chance to do and you passed on it and you didn't get to do it. But so not quite a regret, but one that I really, really wish I could have seen when they played with Bon Jovi in Toronto. When I saw them that was June 1989, June 4th, I think. They played a secret show. There was one of my favorite concert venues / clubs ever called Rock and Roll Heaven in Toronto. I saw Badlands there, LA Guns, Faith No More, Paul Stanley, lots of bands there. And Skid Row played a surprise, unannounced show at Rock and Roll Heaven after they opened for Bon Jovi. They opened for Bon Jovi, I think it was on a Friday night. My friend died that night, my friend Mike, in a motorcycle accident. Such happy memories, summer memories. And so they finished opening for Bon Jovi. They went downtown to Rock and Roll Heaven. Then they played a late night show. Bon Jovi ended up coming and jamming with Skid Row at Rock and Roll Heaven. I think he sang Boys Are Back in Town by Thin Lizzy, maybe. I'm not sure. But I didn't know about that show until after it happened. I guess back then it was easier to do these secret shows. You can never get away with that now. Everybody knows it. But this was a secret show, and I think I guess some people did know about it. I wasn't in the loop enough to know about it. But I really, really wish I'd seen Skid Row at Rock and Roll Heaven in Toronto, but I missed it. So going back, now further back, even before Skid Row, as I mentioned, I'm from Toronto, and I knew Sebastian Bach I didn't know him personally, but he was in a band called Herrenvolk. I guess that's how you pronounce it, Herrenvolk. I don't know what it means. It's a terrible name. I thought it sounded like a fish, maybe because it sounds like herring. But he was in a band called Herrenvolk in Volk, like Volkswagen. Maybe it's German. I just made that connection. Herrenvolk. I'll have to look that up. So he was in Herrenvolk, and that was 83 or 84, and I knew them from locally. There used to be a magazine called Metallion. This was I can't remember if it was free or not. It probably wasn't free. It was kind of a nice glossy magazine. I remember getting it at A&A Records. They always distributed. No, I think you did have to pay for it. And there was a guy called Drew Dalglish who used to write for them, who later became Drew Masters, and then did his own Meat magazine. And Lenny Stout, I guess. I'm not sure what his name was. Anyway, I remember reading about Herrenvolk. I think it was in Metallion. And then Sebastian Bach was in Kid Wicked, although I'm not sure if Kid Wicked, I should have Googled this. Maybe somebody knows. I don't know if Kid Wicked was the same band as Herrenvolk, but they changed from the awfully named Herrenvolk to the somewhat less awfully named Kid Wicked, or if they were 2 different bands. But Sebastian Bach was in them. And then, and I do have a strange memory of Sebastian Bach. I never, like I said, I didn't know him. I never met him. Maybe I don't even know if I ever saw him personally walking around Toronto. But I remember once there used to be a place, I don't know why I'm saying this, because nobody that's watching this is going to know what I'm talking about. But in Toronto, there's Yonge Street, a famous street, Yonge Street, and about a block south of Carlton on Yonge Street, there was a big, I can't remember what the building was, but a lot of people used to hang out on the stairs, the steps. It was like an office or a commercial building, not an apartment building. And people used to hang out there and, I don't know, drink and smoke and just hang out. I think a lot of metalheads. I remember I was sitting out there once, probably smoking, and there were a bunch of people, I think it was mostly metalheads around there, and there were some girls sitting there. I remember a girl came up to another girl, her friend, and showed her like a magazine or a picture or something, and said, "Oh, look, it's Sebastian." She was like mocking her or something. And the girl grabbed the picture, the magazine, whatever it was. "Oh, I hate you. I hate Sebastian." She put it down and she like stepped on it. So I don't know what the problem was. Maybe a lover's quarrel, I guess, although very one-sided. That's it. And then, so when the first Skid Row album came out in 1989, I remember having it very early when it came out. It was, I at that time, I was really, really into this kind of music, and I always knew it was coming out. And Skid Row did have a lot of hype around them. And so I anticipated that album coming out. It's possible that I even bought it the day it came out. I don't know for sure, but I did have it early. And I remember it was in the winter. It came out, or if I bought it maybe in, let's say February, I don't know. But loved it. Everything about this album, talking about the album in general now, everything about this album was perfect for the music, this kind of music that I was into at the time. This album had it all. It had Skid Row, they had the looks, and they were kind of like a bridge band between the more pretty boy hair metal, and I know a lot of people don't like that term, probably including Skid Row. I know Sebastian Bach doesn't like it. Eddie Trunk sure doesn't like it. But the hair metal bands, the real glammy looking ones, the Poison, Cinderella, maybe Bullet Boys, Warrant, who else? Rox Gang, Pretty Boy Floyd. Skid Row wasn't that, they weren't glammy. But the Guns N' Roses was also maybe one of the earlier bridges, although they were very glam in the beginning. But Skid Row had a more, I don't know, tougher. They were a hair band, but they weren't pretty like some of these other bands that I mentioned. Maybe a little bit more not more aggressive. What's the word I'm looking for? How can I articulate this? Not as lyrically, I guess, and musically, not heavier, because Skid Row's not a heavy band, but they weren't as poofy maybe as other bands, musically and visually. Oh, and you might wonder, probably not, how vain it is and conceited of me and arrogant to think that you're wondering about me, but a lot of people would pick Slave to the Grind. Their second album is the best Skid Row album. Not even close for me. This debut is miles above Slave to the Grind. If anything, I was even maybe a little bit disappointed in Slave to the Grind. Because for me, it was too heavy. Skid Row, again, is not a heavy band. And Slave to the Grind was, I thought they were out of their element. I know I'm in the very, very vast minority there. I did love Get the Fuck Out, Riot Act. Monkey Business was pretty good. The title track, Slave to the Grind, was pretty good, although I was going to say borderline thrash metal. Not quite that heavy, but fast and heavy. But I know a lot of people swear by Slave to the Grind. I just never get into that. I know the song titles, Quicksand Jesus, Mud Kicker, In a Darkened Room. If you put those songs on right now, I wouldn't even recognize them. I just never get into them. Again, I don't think it's a bad album, just they kind of lost me. And then Subhuman Race was after that. I still have never, I think as far as I know, never heard one note of Skid Row music after Slave to the Grind, which is maybe kind of bigoted. Is that the right word? Maybe I used that wrong. Maybe I'm being a little bit short-sighted or narrow-minded by giving up on Skid Row. But I'll focus on this, the debut album. Just excellent. They had everything. Great. A good look, as I said. Great songs, good sound. This album was produced by Michael Wagner, who later he produced Saigon Kick, one of my favorite, the debut Saigon Kick album, one of my favorite albums ever. especially one of the greatest debut albums for me ever. What else did Michael Wagner do? He produced, I guess he did some other things, mixing and engineering. He was involved with King's X at some point, with at least one album, maybe a couple. What else did Michael Wagner do? I can't remember, but he had his hands or his ears in a lot of bands that I liked at the time. So this had everything. It checked all the boxes, if you like that expression. I don't like that expression at all. Yet I just used it. But very, very good. And Skid Row kind of never, maybe they were a little bit late. They were huge, but for quite a short period. They never were on the same level as Guns N' Roses. That's why they're opening for Guns N' Roses. I mean, in terms of popularity. Or, sorry to say, or I hate to say, Poison. But an excellent album. I still love it now. I listened to it this morning. I went out for a walk, and just very, very good. No, great. I would say this is a snapshot of 1988, 89, 90, around there. This especially the summer of '89. I have awesome memories of listening to this album, and still do. I think it for me it holds up great. So going through it now. Going through the songs now. The first one is Big Guns. She got her big guns pointed at my heart. Bang, bang, shooting like a firing squad. Big guns. She took me by surprise. No. Oh, I'm fucking this up already. She got the big guns pointed at me. Bang, bang, shoot. Whatever. Good opener and great song. Don't know what else to say. It's not my favorite. I'm not sure what my favorite on this is. Maybe I'll know when I come to it. Next one is Sweet Little Sister. She's my sweet little sister. That's a good one too. More, I think a little bit more up tempo. That's a kind of a fast one. Sweet Little Sister. I know a thing or two about Sweet Little Sister. Her mom would kill her if she knew what she'd do. She's my sweet little sister. Next is Can't Stand the Heartache. I think either the band or Sebastian Bach hates Can't Stand the Heartache. I love it. I don't know. I think they don't like it because they thought it was too soft. It's not a ballad at all, despite the song, the title. It maybe sounds like a ballad. I can't stand the heartache. I'm so sad. I'm going to write a hair metal song about it. No, it's a great song and it's a rocker. But maybe it's just maybe a little bit too melodic. Sometimes it's like Paul Stanley doesn't like anything from My Baby. And I think that's a fucking awesome song. But I think fall in love with a twisted lady, suicide with a cover girl, spend all your time when you got stuck paying the price, uptown, downtown, into a spin, take the walk, I just can't win, can't stand the heartache. I would say that's a favorite so far of those three. I'm not sure if it'll hold up to be my favorite on the whole album, but I love Can't Stand the Heartache. Now Piece of Me. Maybe Piece of Me is better than Can't Stand the Heartache. That was a strange. They had a video for that. It was, I guess, a single. I don't think it was an actual physical single, but they did a video for Piece of Me. A little bit heavier, that one. That was a little bit grittier. Maybe grittier is a better word than heavier. A little bit. I guess a song about fighting, sleazing in the city. You know, I'm looking for a fight. Sleazing in it, I'm looking for a fight. I got nasty. No, that's I'm conflating two songs. What are the lyrics to sleazing in the city? I'm looking for a fight. I got my this is a little bit strange. This is why bands shouldn't complain about being labeled as hair metal or cock rock. When you have lyrics like this, and I'm not knocking it because as I said, I love this music and this album. But when you say sleazing in the city, I'm looking for a fight. Got my heels and looking pretty on a Saturday night. Up to good God, bless my soul. I need a dose of rock and roll. Come on, baby, take a look at me. You better hurry. Come on in, baby. Just you wait and see. You better hurry and get a piece of me. Caught a lonely lady crying on a cigarette. She's got nasty, nasty habits, and that's all she's gonna get from me. those are pretty hair metal lyrics. If there is such a thing as hair metal lyrics, that is it. But that's it. But that's maybe my favorite song so far. I am not disparaging this song nor the lyrics because I really like "Piece of Me." The next one is 18 in Life. Now, is this a ballad or not? I mentioned this last week when I talked about Janie's Got a Gun by Aerosmith on Pump, my favorite Aerosmith album. Is it a ballad or not? I think we just say anything that's kind of mellow and quiet and has some emotion is a ballad. Janie's Got a Gun is about a girl, Janie, I guess, who was sexually assaulted or molested and got a gun and put a bullet in his brain. And 18 in Life is kind of a hard luck story. Everybody knows this song. And it's quiet, but it's, I don't know, is it a ballad? And some people called, Fade to Black by Metallica a ballad. And what about House of Pain by Faster Pussycat, about a kid whose father walked out on him. Even Home Sweet Home, maybe one of the best, again, if you want to call it ballads, quiet songs. I love Home Sweet Home. Maybe I'll talk about that sometime, Theater of Pain. We'll see. In any case, 18 in Life is awesome. And when I was listening to it today, that solo is fucking awesome. Now, it's kind of strange. If you listen to the kind of music that I do, if you like Skid Row and Metallica and Slayer and Badlands and even the aforementioned Bullet Boys and Pretty Boy Floyd and Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue, Van Halen, we love guitars. That's the most important thing in our life and in our music is guitars. And we especially love guitar solos. And I do. But I see people doing videos that are talking about, this is my favorite guitar solo, or the guitar solo in this song is my favorite. And I have no idea. If you ask me to name my favorite albums, no problem. Favorite songs, yeah, all day I could talk about that. My favorite bands, my favorite concerts, my favorite guitarists, no problem. But if you ask me to talk about my favorite guitar solos, wouldn't have a clue. Now, if I listen to songs, especially Kiss songs, I'd say, oh man, maybe Kiss songs, the solos I know. I'd say, oh man, yeah, when this song is playing, I love this song. And I can sing it, and I can air guitar to it, but I don't have that list in my head about guitar solos. But when I listened to this today, the solo of 18 in Life, that child blew a child away, that's what leads into the solo. Amazing solo. And Skid Row is not recognized as a guitar band like Van Halen or even Zakk Wylde or Snake Sabo and Scotty Hill. Nothing wrong with them, but they were not guitar heroes like some of these other guys that we listen to. But that child blew a child away, and then the solo, beautiful, amazing, very melodic solo, very singable, and even maybe hummable. Next, what comes after 18 in Life? That was the end of the record. The end of the first side. No, Rattlesnake Shake was next. And again, very classic hair metal, Rattlesnake Shake. And then Motley Crue had Rattlesnake Shake on Dr. Feelgood 6 months later, whenever Dr. Feelgood came out. This album came out beginning of 89. Dr. Feelgood came out in, I think, September 89. So did LA Guns, Cocked and Loaded, which is a classic from the genre. Maybe I'll talk about that one at some point too. Faster Pussycat, Wake Me When It's Over. That was a good, I think all those albums came out within a month, August or September. That's one of my favorite albums ever. I love those first two, Faster Pussycat. Faith No More, The Real Thing, came out in 1989. Good year that was, 1989. So Rattlesnake Shake, 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 shake it like a rattlesnake. Boom, boom, baby, out with the lights. Again, very hair metal lyrics, but I like that song. After that was Youth Gone Wild. Rollin', dun 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 dun. Very, very anthemic. This song was huge in the spring and maybe summer and maybe all through 89. Loved it. That was the first song I heard probably. I would imagine I saw the video. Seeing the video was probably the first time I heard Youth Gone Wild. The thing about songs like that, anytime you have youth in a song or a sing about youth, like Flaming Youth by Kiss, you write these songs when you're in your early 20s, maybe mid 20s. I guess Skid Row at this time, they were 22. I was 19 at the time. They were a few years older than me. And amazingly, they still are a few years older than me. That's just unbelievable, all these years later. You know, when you get to a certain age, and I don't know what that age is, and you're still singing about the youth and the youth gone wild. They call us problem child. We spend our lives on trial. They call us problem child. We spend our lives on trial. We walk an endless mile. We are the youth gone wild. Since I was young, they couldn't hold me down. Another misfit kid, another burned out town. You know, you get to a point where youth, having the word youth in your songs, maybe doesn't hold up as well. The song is still great, but lyrically it kind of loses something, I think, to be singing this song when you're 55 or 60. I guess they're not 60 yet. But nothing wrong with it, just pointing that out. But I do love Youth Gone Wild. Next was Here I Am. Oh yeah! They opened with this, I think, probably all 3 times I saw them. Probably the most up-tempo, which is why they open with it. T-Bone Billy just singing the blues, caught his lady with another man, lit up a smoke and did some talking with the back of his hand. Smack! Very inappropriate lyrics in 2023, but back then we didn't care about stuff like that. We celebrated women being smacked with a guy with a smoke hanging out of his mouth and smacking his broad, we probably called her back then. I like that. Is that a favorite? Not quite a favorite, but I do like that one. T-Bone Billy just singing the blues, caught his lady with another man, lit up a smoke and did some talking with the back of his hand. She started shaking, started losing her mind, but he was kicking back and playing it cool. Signed her walking papers, took the 515 to Kalamazoo. Sing for your supper, nobody rides for free. Everybody sang Nobody Rides for Free. Rat had a song called that. Did Sea Hags have a song called Nobody Rides for Free? It was a very cliche song title, but Skid Row had it in a lyric, not a song title. 1, 2, baby, what you do. 3, 4, gonna show you the door. You're better off dead than making a mess of me. 5, 6, get your last licks. 7, 8, gonna give it to you straight. You're better off dead than making a mess of me. That's a great song. All these, there's not one song that I don't love. Not even that I don't like. I love all these songs. Next is. Oh, hold on. Here I am. I was again conflating 2 songs. Here I am is 6 foot one and lonely, dressed in spaghetti rags, standing at the bus stop with her alligator bags. What can you do? No, what can I do? That had a great riff to open that song. And that was the oh yeah. And then no, which one had the oh yeah? That was Making a Mess. So I kind of got those 2 a little bit conflated there. Here I close your eyes and I'll be Superman. Here I am. Come on, take my lovin' while you can. She broke a million hearts on 2nd Avenue with her alligator. No, I'm maybe adding a 3rd song. She broke a million hearts on 2nd Avenue with her German cigarettes and designer attitude. What can I do? No, what can I do? And then Making a Mess. I totally bungled that. Mr. bungled it. I got so excited to talk about the Skid Row album that I lost my mind a little bit. Next is I Remember You. That's another one. Now that is a ballad for sure. Amazing song. Sebastian Bach, for me, maybe his favorite vocals are in I Remember You. And again, a great solo, just like the other kind of quiet song, 18 in Life. For sure, I don't really keep track of my favorite solos of songs or of bands even as mentioned, but those 2, the solos really stand out. Maybe because they're quiet songs, I'm not sure why, but love both of those solos. And then the last song is Midnight, Tornado. And it always bugged me a little bit when bands had the Slash, the dreaded Slash. Black Sabbath had this with War Pigs / Luke's Wall, and Wheels of the Straightener, Wheels / Wheels of Confusion. It bugged me a little bit, but I guess Tornado was like the song is Midnight, and then Tornado was a little bit of a musical coda at the end, a little tag on the end of Tornado. So that's it. That's the Skid Row 1989 debut album. I love it. I have great memories of listening to this album in 89 and whatever time. And I guess I liked it too, that it was cool for me, that for me as a guy living in, or being from, whatever you want to say, a Toronto guy, teenager, 19 years old at that time, that Skid Row had Sebastian Bach sing for them, who I was a little bit familiar with from the aforementioned Heron Volk, Kid Wicked. Oh, and Madame X too, although I think he had left Toronto by the time he was in Madame X. So I think that's all I have to say about Skid Row. Fantastic. One of the very top albums, I think, of this this era, or this genre, is the very first Skid Row album.